Hey friends, Jill here. Welcome back to Whispering Willow Farm. It's pretty early in the morning here and it's kind of chilly. It's about 43 degrees. I've got my cup of coffee. All my family is still snoozing cozy in the bed. And I woke up this morning and I thought, you know what? It is a beautiful day to finish planting my garden. And so that's exactly what I'm gonna do. You guys saw Charlie planting. Y'all are so sweet. I went through and read some of y'all's comments and you guys just made her day. Thank y'all for just loving on her so well. But we had several days of rain after she had planted, so I've kind of held off, and I looked at the 10-day forecast and we're finally at a place where we're up in the high 70s again, no rain for several days, so I thought, let's just do it today. So let's head out to the greenhouse. Whew, it's bright. Pick out our plants and get started. Oh, all my poor plants. I mean, my plants have not looked this bad in a really long time. So even if it's a little colder in the mornings, we're still gonna just go ahead and plant them because these little guys, well, these big guys, have certainly outgrown their pots and desperately need to be into the ground. My plan, there's some breakfast. My plan today is to plant out my squash and zucchini. I would like to plant all my trellises and figure out what I'm going to do there. Obviously plant out all my tomatoes. The only thing I'm probably gonna wait for, and I'll still probably plant later this afternoon, you guys may just not see that, is my zinnias. I had mentioned in the last vlog I am having to make some adjustments. I need a walkway down there because right now I'm not gonna be able to reach the middle zinnias just and cut them properly and things like that. And after talking to my friend and just thinking through that, I thought, well, that may not actually work out really well. So I'm gonna try to get everything else planted but that, because I am gonna have to make some adjustments to the whole zinnia bed. Whoa, those are sour. Good, but sour. All right, I need a tray. Let me start filling up a tray. All right, I have got my little tray full. So I'm gonna start heading out into the garden. I think I've mentioned this to you guys. I like to lay everything out and get a game plan since I change my plan all the time. Like literally, I change my plan all the time. It's kind of a bad thing. It's kind of a bad thing, but I'm working on it. So I know for sure the bed I want my squash and zucchini in. However, some of my squash are the Tramontino squash and the center cut squash, so I'm gonna need those to trellis up. And then obviously I've got my regular slicers that aren't paste, that are indeterminate, that I'm going to need to be able to trellis. So I'm going to kind of lay everything out and figure out where I am, because obviously I have one tray, but I've got a ton of plants still in the greenhouse. So really trying to maximize the space. I only have 8 raised beds, and that's really not a whole lot of space. So I'm just trying to maximize that, figure out what I can put in. Usually what I do too is at the end of my tomato beds, or at the end of all my beds, I'll end up trying to put a couple peppers in there, because usually I don't ever have like a lot of designated space for peppers. They just end up being my fillers, which actually works pretty well. All right, let's get started. I thought I was gonna make it out here before the sun was nice and bright, and unfortunately that did not happen. So I ended up having space at the end of this bed where Charlie planted for another, I think it was, yeah, I put a San Marzano paste tomato. This is actually an indeterminate, and although I don't love tomato cages, I just don't think they serve their purpose well. I am gonna go ahead and put that there and just plop a tomato cage over it, and then that still leaves me a little bit of space down here to put a couple pepper plants. So we'll plant that one. She did so good planting these tomatoes. I was really proud of her. So aside from the determinate varieties I grew in the tunnels last year, the Grand Marshalls, I've never grown a determinate tomato. Now in the high tunnel, I did prune. I pruned off my suckers. I heavily pruned But when I was planting these with Charlie, many of you said that you don't actually prune determinate varieties. This is an indeterminate variety, so I'm going to still prune this one. But many of you had said that you actually don't do that and they just get bushier, which makes sense. So I think that these right here, I'm actually not going to prune. I'm just going to listen to y'all's advice because I am certainly not an expert. And although the ones grew really well for me in the tunnel, you know, it was under a tunnel, so that could have made a difference as far as how they produced and stuff. This will actually be the latest I've ever planted my garden. So today it is April 25th, it's Sunday. I don't recall ever waiting this late to fully plant my garden. Our frost date ended up being, like, we were cleared of our estimated last frost date, April 14th. So how incredibly wild is that, right? That's crazy to me. So this is the Kellogg breakfast, that large yellow slicer. I'm just pinching these blooms off. Y'all want to know something that just really makes me excited? How many people are all around the world right now planting a garden for the very first time? I think about the kids who are being introduced to gardens through their parents. I think about the adults who are being introduced to the garden by their grandparents. I think about the sustainability that the world is putting out right now through growing a garden. Now, some people may be growing a garden because they've always grown a garden, and this plays a huge role in their life and sustainability and growing food for their family. Some people may be growing a garden because their friend did it, their mom did it, their grandma did it. And some people are doing it because they follow people like you and like me, and we have sparked a passion in them that they never knew they had. And for me, that is mind-boggling to know that I have played a type of role like that you guys have probably played a role like that in somebody's life, on taking this huge leap of faith. Growing a garden is a total leap of faith. You plant a seed in the ground, or you grow it into a plant, and you plant it and you tend to it and you water it, and you have a whole heck of a lot of faith that it's going to produce you fruit and vegetables, and that it's going to be worth it. And it, of course, is totally worth it. But if we just stop for a second and think about how stinking cool that is, that like my family played a role in this for somebody else. You, wherever you are on the other end of this, you probably played a huge role in somebody else getting started. And that is like the effect that happens, right? One person does it, one person lights the fire, and the rest of it goes crazy. I think that is so magical. And while I'm out here this morning planting my garden, I can't help but think, how many other people are doing this for the first time? How many people are going to find so much restoration in their gardens this year? How many people are going to find sustainability? How many people are going to start growing their own food and not be relying on a broken food system? How many people are taking active change to do better? That gets me so fired up. I get excited. I get overwhelmed with gratitude from what I've learned from the garden and the people that have poured into me over the last few years. And so I want to challenge you today, if you haven't told anybody the value of growing a garden, you should do that, because you might be the one person that changes their perspective and then literally can shift their life for the better here on out. So I'm gonna encourage and challenge you guys. Tell somebody to garden today. I did want to tell you guys too, I know it's really bright, I'm sorry. On these large tomato plants, say that you've started your own seeds and you've got these huge tomato plants. Maybe you got, you know, nipped by old Jack Frost a little late in the season like I did, and your plants are just getting really, really big. I'm taking off these suckers. If they're big enough, like there's a sucker right here that's pretty big. So I can snap that off like I just did, stick this down in some water and it'll grow roots, and then this can actually be a tomato plant. So usually I do this if I have sold stuff at the plant sale and I thought, oh, I'll go ahead and take this, but I'll probably end up coming home with a variety, and then I don't end up coming home with the variety and I don't want to have to start something over from seed, I'll usually take one of the larger suckers on a plant and I'll root it, and it'll be longer, but that's okay depending on like your zone and how you're growing. If you're growing in a high tunnel, you can be growing tomatoes through, you know, I grew them through November, so this would be easily a feasible thing to do. So if you're needing more plants and you just want little free plants, save your suckers, root those bad boys in water, and they will certainly grow. I have plenty of plants, so I'm not actually going to do this, but it certainly is something you can do even when you're in the middle of the season and you're pruning them and you decide that you want to root some. You can certainly do that. It's just really easy. Just like I had taken them off right here, you do the same thing when the plant's bigger and established. On the last tomato for this bed. Now I do know people who, when they plant their tomatoes, they take an entire egg and stick in there just to add calcium. It'll break down over time and add calcium. Now I do have friends also who will add some sort of like root growth powder in here when they're planting their tomatoes. I'll be honest, I've never done anything like that. Now, my friends that have, their tomatoes are amazing. I don't know, I never have. And I think it's because I do the soil test every year. And so I have a pretty good idea of what my soil needs, and I amend it properly to where I just don't feel like it's necessary. However, you certainly can do that. You can add all sorts of stuff depending on what you think your plant might need and just kind of help boost that growth when they get into the ground. I don't, and my plants do fine. However, I know that just by putting them in the ground, they're gonna be, they're gonna have access to a lot more nutrients than they have right now. However, you certainly can do that. It can be any type of egg. I think my friend Jess even uses like her duck eggs. So whatever you had available, you could just go buy like those bulk crates of eggs from the grocery store and pop in there. But here we have another bed down. This is so exciting. So here I have my white marigolds starting to put out a bloom already. Now I did not know that these were going to get that tall. I've grown dwarf marigolds in the past, or even French marigolds, which are squattier, bushier. The African marigolds can get really, really big. So my original plan was to interplant these as companion plants with my tomatoes, because that's what I've done every year. This year, since these are going to get so big, I'm kind of changing my plan, and what I'm actually going to do is just stick them in the corner of each bed. That way they can attract pollinators, and they'll just add a little pop of color to each bed. And I can't wait. I mean, this one's already starting to bloom. I can't wait to save seeds because I started all the seeds that I had. I got them from, I think I got them from Botanical Interest. So I just got it right here in the little side part of the bed, and I think it's actually going to be pretty cute. Man, this day has just, this is a good way to start a day. Any day you get to wake up and start a garden is a pretty special day. I think because I've been waiting for this for so long too. Like I thought I was going to be able to plant like weeks ago, and the fact that I haven't, I've just been like anxiously waiting. And then I went to my friend Jess's house the other day, and she's got all this stuff growing in her garden, and it just made me so excited, and I was like, I gotta start doing it. I have to. Look at the roots on that. Yeah, this poor thing desperately needed to be in the ground. Grow little thing. I'm actually curious. I'd love to see how big it gets. Also need to go dig up the seeds for my multi-headed mammoth sunflower. Now, I did mention to you guys in a previous vlog, I didn't ensure that this didn't get crossed last season, so I don't know that it's actually going to produce that again, but I do want to try to grow it. That way, if it does throw out that multi-headed mammoth, I can properly save the seeds for those to grow those again. And then I'm seeing lots of volunteers. We've had lots of volunteer tomatoes in the zinnia bed, and then I just had to pull up some turnips, little bitty baby turnips that were in this bed that I just sowed. These little guys, though, are just growing. I feel like they've grown so much just since I showed y'all last. All right, let's go get some more plants. One tray planted, so many more to go. All right, let's see what we got here. I do need to figure out a place for my basils. I think what I'm gonna do there is the basil I planted in my grow bag, I'll move that out there. And then I've still got a few little ones. I think I'm gonna plant those in the center block bed, in the actual center blocks. I've done that in years past, it works really well. Then I have a bunch of nasturtiums, and I was hoping to actually designate a trellis to the nasturtiums. I don't know, I'm one tromboncino short. Every single tromboncino plant I took to the plant sale sold. And I thought I kept 2 here, and I only kept 1. So I'm gonna have tromboncinos growing up one side of the trellis, and I may just experiment and see. I don't know, y'all give me some feedback on that. That would either be like wildly beautiful with the tromboncino and then the nasturtiums, or that would be mad chaos, and I don't know which one yet, but that might actually kind of be cool. That would maybe even be pretty. The more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm leaning yes, but I need some practical advice. Little basil plants are doing so well ever since I pruned them. Look at these little guys starting to put out. All right, so I am saving some of these for my father-in-law. Some of this stuff is going into grow bags. So I've got my eucalyptus that will go in a grow bag. I have my goji berries that will go in a grow bag. My peppers, that's what I need to work on, is figuring out where to put these stinking peppers. I know for sure I want to put a lilac bell out there. Have already lost their tags, so I don't even know what they'll be. Little surprises in the garden, which I don't really mind that either. I'm gonna grab an eggplant, and I think I'm gonna grab one of these pink ox hearts, another one of those, and throw them in the ground. This one back here kind of looks better. Alright, you guys, I've got a whole lot left of the garden to plant. It is starting to get really, really sunny. So the rest of this video is just going to be a time lapse, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I also hope that you just feel so wildly inspired to do and to act and to plant a garden. And if you're watching this and you've never started a garden because you feel intimidated, because you think, I don't know what I'm doing, guess what? Neither do I. I may have some knowledge, but I am always growing as a person, as a gardener, as a mother, as a wife, as a friend. We're always growing. There's always room for improvement and to do better. And that's one of the things that I absolutely love about the garden, is that it's so forgiving. When you mess up, it gives you grace to try to figure it out and try to do better. And I just want to encourage you so much, do not let the fear of failure keep you from something that could be really, really great. You could find that this is a passion of yours. You could pursue that. You could find that this brings your family closer, that you are practicing walking in sustainability, whether that's growing food for your family, growing food for your community. This is important. What we are doing as individuals, growing food, starting gardens, teaching our children, being sustainable, reducing our carbon footprint, this right here matters. It's a wonderful opportunity for me to provide food for my family, to provide food for my community. It's just such a practical way to take action and do something. Every time I plant a garden, every time you guys step out in faith and you plant a garden, we are changing the food system for our family, for our communities. We're inspiring someone else to grow food. We're inspiring someone else to go back to the garden. This is just so good for me. Coming out here, getting my hands in the soil, feeling rejuvenated, having a purpose, and knowing that I am directly affecting change for my family, for my community, for the environment. that lights a passion in me like none other. And if you're sitting there and you're wondering what your passions are and you just don't know what to do, maybe you're overwhelmed by the garden, like I said, maybe you think you have no experience because you've never done it before, just do it, because you're gonna mess up. That's the really cool thing about gardening. I mess up, you're gonna mess up. That's okay. You get to come back to it. Year after year, season after season, you get to continuously figure this out and sculpt and mold and grow your craft of gardening. And then you're gonna feel super encouraged when you do grow that first fruit or that first vegetable, and you're gonna share that with somebody. And maybe you are the person that is going to spark so much joy and so much excitement in someone else that they do great things based off of your commitment and your faithfulness just to start it. I think that's really cool. So thank you guys for helping me plant my garden today. I hope this video inspired you to grow food and gave you the freedom to believe that you could do it, because I believe in you. Now you just have to believe in yourself. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll talk to you soon.